Okay, this video is about the scariest cards in the tarot. When you're not used to them, when you're first learning tarot, these cards are the ones that are going to freak you out the most. These are the cards that get the bad rap, okay? Once you've been doing tarot for a while, you learn to really appreciate these cards and you're not scared of them anymore because you kind of know what they're talking about. Remember that like in tarot, we're not like bringing in like bad spirits or anything like that. That's not what we're doing. We're talking to ourselves. We're gaining perspective on our own lives. There's nothing that can come in that's going to harm you because this is yourself. You're always just dealing with yourself. Your higher self, your deep self is talking to your conscious self. Your spiritual self is talking to your human self. Okay? So, first card I'm going to talk about in the scaries is the Death card. Everybody is scared of this card. Well, first of all, death is scary. And it's funny. I think death is probably the thing that most people are most afraid of. And it's the only thing that we're all going to have to go through. So that's an interesting thought. I think about that all the time. Also, I am a nurse and I was a hospice nurse for a while there. I actually just left that job. And so I dealt with death all the time. And I can tell you that death, when it happens, is for the person who's dying, who's going through it. It seems to me, just because I've seen it a lot, to be a very liberating experience for the person experiencing the death. I mean, not to say that there's not fear as it approaches, because it is the unknown. We don't know what's on the other side. We don't know what happens. Maybe we even think nothing happens, and that's scary. But some of the stuff we have to deal with in life, some of the stuff that precedes death is so awful. For example, pain, confusion, dementia, loneliness, a debilitated body. These things are pretty bad. So sometimes to march yourself into the unknown might not be a bad thing. And that's what the Death card is about. So it is a major arcana. So the fact that you're getting this card, this is not a minor thing. That's happening in the person's life, whatever is being represented by the Death card. Very, very rarely does it mean an actual death. Very frequently, it means the end of a relationship, the end of a job, the end of something that was probably precious to the person, to the querent in some way. Even if it was a very bad marriage, a marriage is a precious thing, and when it ends, it's really, really painful. Even when the marriage was awful, just like when people die, even if they've been living with some terrible, debilitating disease, some terrible cancer, it is still like a precious thing that they're losing. They're losing their body, and so it's a big deal. So the Death card is always going to represent some event that is going to happen whether you like it or not. It's not the what I sometimes call the baby death card, which would be the Ten of Swords, which is something that's happening via free will, something that is a betrayal, a difficulty, but will be overcome, or could be prevented. The death is an event that is coming in via fate. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. The only thing to do is just, try to relax. It'll be over soon. That's a death event in the person's life. It'll be over eventually. And the nice thing about it is the Death card clears the way for new things to come in. I mean, if you were trapped in a very unhappy marriage and you can't have a fulfilling relationship, a truly fulfilling relationship, romantic relationship, again, truly fulfilling. I'm talking about truly fulfilling. I'm not saying people can't have affairs that, do something for them. I'm sure they do when people have affairs. But if you're married to somebody that it's not working out with, sometimes the very best thing is a divorce. If you're in a job that's miserable and it's done, it has run its course in your life, sometimes the very best thing is for the death to come in and trample over it and you start anew. So if you look, what do we have on the Death card? Well, there's a lot of symbology going on here. I'm going to talk about some of it, but I don't like to get too caught up in this because some of this stuff is kind of old stuff that you know, you don't need to know all this stuff to really get the cards. So if you look here, there's this gateway. Okay, there's this gateway. You'll see this gateway in other cards. It's on the moon. You see it there. There it is. I don't want to go out of focus too much. All right. So this is showing that beyond death, there's a whole new world. There's all kinds of paths. This is not the end of something. I mean, it is, but it's also the beginning of something. And that's what you have to remember when you get the death card. Yes, something is ending, but something else is moving on. If you look here, you also have the Hierophant. So you have like religious order and structure. You have in the Hierophant, when he's finally aspected, like when he's in his best place, is a conduit for us to interact with the divine. I mean, the Hierophant can also block that, but this is, you know, a death is a structured event, and the Hierophant is there to sort of like guide us through and take us to the other side. Okay, so what else have we got? You can just see that, you know, even though, you know, we have a lot of, you know, we have, this person has died, obviously, you know, we have a whole new world, and the sun is here in the back. Okay, so yeah, the white horse comes in with his eye. His eye is particularly scary to me. I have always not liked his eye, the eye of the horse. The death card for me very frequently is a welcome card. When somebody's been stuck in a bad place, well, it's going to be over soon. So that's a death card. Very, very rarely does this card mean physical death. If you get this card along with the Four of Swords, sometimes that can represent a person who has died in the querent's life, or some physical death. That's my experience, is that the Four of Swords, which you'll see kind of almost looks like he's in a coffin in the Four of Swords, that can sometimes, that card paired with the death card, I would probably want some other supporting cards around that too, might suggest an actual death, but that's rare. Okay. Since we talked about death, I'll talk about what I call baby death, because this guy's dead, right? But this card, this is the Ten of Swords. This speaks more to a betrayal. Okay, so this is 10 swords in the back. This guy, none of these swords are in the front. He didn't see it coming. It's 10 swords in his back. It killed him. It is completely wasted. This is a situation where boom, 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 10 swords in the back. You're dead. It's over. But if you look in the background, the sun is rising. Okay, so yes, you got a betrayal. You got unequivocally, you were betrayed here. You were betrayed. So this card is less about death and more about betrayal. Somebody betrays you, and because they betray you so truly and so completely with 10 swords in your back, it's not like a little slice. They gave you a little slice and like, oh, sorry, I nicked you. No, you were betrayed with 10 swords in the back. Because of that, you are now able to move on. You can see the sun coming up. So the 10 of Swords it speaks to a betrayal, but if you get this card, it's normally a betrayal that you're already aware of. This card very rarely comes out as a warning, okay? It's something that, it's a betrayal that you're at least partly aware of, and maybe you haven't completely opened your eyes to it, but the sooner that you kind of accept that this has happened, the sooner you can move on and get on with your life. So not a totally bad card to get for that reason. All right, I will go over, I debated back and forth about whether to put this one in. This is the Eight of Swords. It looks scary because it looks like, you know, there's this woman and she's tied up and she's blindfolded and there's all these swords around her. But like, if you look, so there's all 8 swords are around her, but there's like a big hole in the back here. Okay. So, and these bindings are not tight. She could just completely free herself, take the blindfold off and walk out of the situation. But this card represents any situation in which we are imprisoned by our own thoughts. Very, very rarely this card means that somebody's in an actual prison, or it's a more, if you saw this card with the Justice card together, I think sometimes that points to somebody actually going to jail, being in jail, or coming from jail. But normally this is like self-imposed prison of the mind. So when you got stinking thinking, you think you can't do something, you're stuck in your head about something like that would be Eight of Swords. Somebody who, we've all known people who do this sometimes, who get like this, where, and you can get like this yourself. Definitely. I get like this sometimes too, where I'm my own worst enemy. I'm holding myself back. That's Eight of Swords. So when you know that about the card, when you see it, it can be a release for yourself, because you can feel like, oh, this is not out of my control. I can free myself from this situation. It's not a major arcana death. It's not a major arcana death. It's a minor arcana. My minor arcana, remember, is where free will is involved. You can stop a minor arcana event. You can change the course of that event. Major arcanas are things that are just fated. They're going to happen. Maybe you can stave them off a little bit, stall them, delay them, but they're going to happen. This is a minor arcana event. It's you being trapped in your own mind. Therefore, you're free to free yourself. So when you see this card, if you're seeing this card a lot, change the way that you're looking at a situation, change your thinking, evaluate your belief systems. What is holding you back? Because it's something. Okay? Next, we have the Tower. I have really grown to appreciate the Tower a lot. When I see a Tower, I'm like, good, thank God, let's do it. Bring it on. Bring it, baby. Let's have a Tower. Okay, the Tower looks like a scary card. You have these people falling from the tower. There's fire, there's lightning. You know, there's a crown that's totally falling down. But the story behind this card is that these people built this tower on shaky ground. They knew this tower was going to fall. They knew that it wasn't going well. Okay, they were walking up and down the stairs, heard it creaking, saw the cracks in the foundation, knew that they never should have built this tower in the first place. They kept building it because they were like, well, we started, we may as well keep going. So this points to a situation that was created for the wrong reasons, and it points to the final event, like the straw that broke the camel's back, that finally takes the situation down. That's what a Tower moment is. It's like when you've been ignoring something that you really should have been paying attention to, and finally your house of cards falls. Okay, so a Tower moment is, for me, to me, it looks like a bad omen, but it's sort of a good omen, because what's happening is you're finally being forced to accept reality. And from there, you can get out of your crappy ass tower and start building something new. You can't really build something new while you're living in your house of cards. Your house of cards has to fall first before you can recognize that you had created something that really had no foundation, it wasn't a good thing that you created, and it needs to come down before you can start over. Also, Tower moments are major arcana moments. They are not something that you can stop. So if you're getting the Tower is coming, or it did come. Sometimes the Tower is just a shakeup within the person himself or herself. So a Tower moment can be like a sudden realization. It can be an emotional experience for a person. It doesn't have to necessarily be the end of a relationship, or something actually falling down. It can be like it can be sort of like a thunder within. If you're into other kind of divinatory things, like other oracles, like I'm really also very practiced at the Book of Changes, the Chinese Book of Changes. In the Chinese Book of Changes, this would be a thunder moment. This would be the thunder hexagram, where there's like a shakeup. Okay, so it's a shakeup, but it's not a minor shakeup. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna shake myself up to get myself going. No, it's like the universe is shaking you up. So that's the Tower. Nothing to really, not. Maybe it's scary, but what you need to focus on, a lot of these negative cards, they are clearing the way for something better to come in, and that's what you need to remember when you get some of these scary cards, the scaries, which is what I'm going to call them, the scaries. Okay, now we have the Devil, okay? So the Devil for a long time really bothered me as a card. I had an easier time with the Tower and the Death card, because I understood that this was the clearing out of old energy. They're both clearing out of old energy. The tower is something that you built. The death isn't necessarily something that you built that was, the tower is because you built something on unstable foundation and it's coming down. The death is just the end of something. It could have been built on perfectly fine foundation, but now it's done. The devil, on the other hand, is sort of being chained or addicted to something. Now, I really should have gotten the Lovers out because I don't think that you can really understand the Devil card without looking at the Lovers right along with it. So I'm going to get the Lovers out. See me go through. Don't let me skip it. Okay. So in both cards, you have the male and the female together. In both cards, you have a deity. Obviously, in the Devil card, the deity is the devil. And in the Lovers card, it's an angel. And you got to look at them side by side to really see. Okay, so if you see, these cards are sort of like the light and the dark representation. I don't want to say light and dark. Now, when I say light and dark, I'm not saying masculine and feminine. That's not what this is, okay? This is two people attracted to each other, love each other. This also speaks to a choice in love. They do have a choice. These people have a choice to make, to be together. It's very much a choice. They're attracted. They love each other. They're angelically protected. The sun is shining on them. You know, they've got fruits and the whole garden behind them. Everything is great, okay? And then in the Devil, it's the same two people, okay? It's the same two people. But the Devil is there, but they feel bound. Instead of really appreciating their situation of their attraction to each other, they feel bound by the attraction. So really, this is just a way of looking at the same situation. This is looking at the situation with rose-colored glasses, possibly, or clear glasses, depending on how you want to frame that. And this is looking at the situation through dark glasses, okay? If you, these people, okay, they have like a, you know, like a collar and a chain, right? That it's not tight. They could take it off their necks, okay? It's sometimes this also does kind of like refer to like BDSM. Like this is like, even though this is, you know, they're chained, it's something that they love and enjoy, right? So it's like the dark side of humanity. And BDSM is a good analogy, unless, you know, that's really offensive to you. I don't think it should be. I think we're more like kink accepting in the world now. But the idea is that like there's a pleasure in this pain. There's something that we like about it. It's intoxicating. It's attractive. It's, you know, it's something that we choose even though we feel bound to it and we feel like we haven't chosen it. We are choosing it. So the Devil by itself sometimes speaks to addiction. It speaks to, that would be like overindulging in pleasure, you know, pleasurable things like alcohol or drugs. It speaks to obsession. That's like when you're, you know, your infatuation gets out of control when, you know, you're obsessing over somebody, you're obsessing over a situation. You're loopy. You're creating your own chains here. Okay? So the thing that does make it a little tricky is it is a major arcana, which means that it's not something that like, you know, free will could avoid, but we can actually get out of this situation ourselves. The Devil really doesn't control us through fate. The Devil entices us, and we can break that bond that we have at any time just by, you know, choosing something else. Okay, so the Devil frequently, for me, if I get the Devil, I need a clarifier, because the Devil makes something else make sense, right? It doesn't make sense really by itself. Like the Devil speaks to the toxic aspect of anything. So, for example, let me pick out a card in here. Okay, so let's say you got the Devil and the Page of Swords. Well, the Page of Swords is a really curious person who who likes one-way communication, very inquisitive, learning. Well, it's like one-way communication. So if you had the Devil with this person, it could be like a negative way of doing it. This could be somebody spying on somebody, somebody stalking somebody, because it's like a one-way communication. So like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a peeping Tom kind of energy, right? What if we had the Devil? What if we had something? I'm gonna try to think of something else. The Devil and the High Priestess normally speaks to either a secret, or it can speak to like black magic, because the High Priestess is, we have the Magician. She practices magic. She's more on the knowledge side of magic, but she does practice magic, so it can speak to black magic. Same thing with the Devil and the Magician. And black magic just meaning that black magic is nothing more than, by the way, it's nothing more than like dark psychology. So black magic is just like, you can't really make anybody fall in love with you. But what you can do is play on their insecurities and make them feel addicted to you. And you don't have total control over this, but you can influence a person to do that if you kind of learn what makes them insecure. It's like the negative side of love. The Devil could speak to somebody who's doing something like that too. It could speak to a player. So like the Knight of Wands with the Devil might be like a serious player. Somebody who's real in and out in your life and just plays on your insecurities because the Knight of Wands is like a really sexy guy. So the Devil brings out the toxicity and something else, and a lot of times, it is about love, because love, romantic relationships can get really toxic really fast. And like I said, with magic, the worst thing is, unrequited love can lead to some nasty things, like I said, the black magic of, it's just the dark psychology of playing on a person's insecurities to make them want you. It's never what you really want. What everybody wants is the true love. They want this. We don't really want somebody to keep coming back to us because they feel addicted to us. We want them to be with us because they want to be with us. And that's why, the devil, it's it's really us hurting ourselves. Okay. So those are the nasties. I'm going to go over the yummies or the happies or the goodies. Maybe I'll call them the goodies.